Hello and welcome to Insights. My name is Dennis Adigmloye. Momentum continues to grow on the international community's recognition of Nigeria as an important international partner in areas of business, the economy and security. Indeed, this recognition played out recently with visits to Nigeria from the UK Prime Minister Theresa May and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. On the discussion segments of the program, we shall discuss key issues emanating from MOUs signed between Nigerian governments and the leaders of these two European nations, as well as interactions between Nigeria and the Chinese governments in Beijing. And of course, we have the media review segment with Cecile. Hello, Cecile.
Hi, Dennis. On media review segment, we shall take it a step further to looking at how much light has the media shed on the visits of three European leaders actually since July.
Yes,
Emmanuel Macron of France, Theresa May of Britain, and of course Angela Merkel of Germany. How much attention has the media drawn to this area to channel the discourse in public space? This is what we'll be talking about on the media review segment. All
right, Cecile. Well, we look forward to that segment of the program. But up next will be the discussion segment. Welcome to the discussion segment of the program. To discuss the key issues emanating from President Muhammadu Buhari's recent visits to him by various international leaders, I have with me in the studio Mr. Salisu Naina Dambata, who is a retired Director of Information from the Ministry of Finance. Welcome to Insight, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis.
You're welcome, sir. And also I have Mr. Ayo Akonji, who is a Security and Foreign Affairs Analyst. You're also welcome to Insight.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Dennis.
All right, so let's kick off this our discussion. Obviously, the UK and Nigeria have a long-standing relationship, and just recently, Mr. Salisu, Prime Minister of Britain, Theresa May, engaged with President Muhammadu Buhari. Just give us your initial thoughts on the interactions between the two leaders.
Yes, definitely we are right that Nigeria and Britain have had a very long, cordial relationship. In fact, going down history lane, you know that the British formulated Nigeria as a nation state. They nurtured it to where it is today as a nation state, except for the Bakassi area, which was ceded to Cameroon. Therefore, Nigeria is a British legacy. And I'm not surprised that they are interested in our progress, in our development, and in ensuring that they maintain a very friendly, cordial, beneficial relationship between both countries on equal basis. And I know that Nigeria has been involved in our national development for long. That is Britain.
Yes.
And one of their major legacies behind in this country, which they left, which are benefiting from today, is the means of communication. Now I'm using the English language. Besides that, you know that we have an extensive railway system, which they left behind as well. They left a lot of ports, schools, and other institutions of learning. And even the administrative structure was basically based on the British model. Therefore, we have a very strong relationship in terms of administration, in terms of politics and political evolution of Nigeria, and even in our economy, because actually the company, it was a company, British company, that came to be the forerunner of the British Empire's presence in this country. So you can see that trading initially brought them. Yeah. So trading is what brought her, and she wants to expand it. She wants to consolidate it. She wants to restore Britain to her old status as a very powerful trading partner with Nigeria. And I think that it is in her own interest, in the interest of her own country, and in the interest of Nigeria, if we know and find ways to tap into it and enhance our benefit from it, so that we just are not going to be a dumping ground for British goods and services.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ayo Akonji, would you say there's any specific reason why Prime Minister Theresa May chose now to come and visit Nigeria? Is there anything that you might think is behind that, or is this purely on a mutually beneficial basis? Some are arguing that this issue, the challenges she's facing back home in the UK, maybe she's escaping from those issues and trying to, galvanize a better relationship, use the opportunity to galvanize better relationships with other countries, especially in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, in the affirmative. 20 of the fastest growing economy in the world, 10 of them are actually from Africa. Yeah. So it tells you that Africa is a hotbed of economic activities. And of course, Britain is living, there's a Brexit that's coming on soon, so she has to come and see how they can reset her relationship with traditional partners like he just talked about right now. And in that context now, you can see that Nigeria and Britain have a trade balance of £4.5 million annually. Well, that might be small for them, because if you look at other, we have with the EU is about £325 billion, with China is about £188 billion, with America is about, I think, £85 billion. So, but with UK is quite small, so you can see there's a significance there. There wants to be a high rise there, and that's why she came up with about 29 business committees in Nigeria to see how they can tap in from different sectors that will benefit both countries equally and mutually. So I think it's a good thing to see that happening, and we expect to see that Nigeria gain so much from this relationship we're having with Great Britain. All
right, staying with you as the security analyst, priority areas are that MOUs were signed between the two leaders was on defense and security. What are we expecting in terms of improvement of security in Nigeria from this agreement?
Yeah, I guess we're expecting so much more credibility. We'll start with first. This is the first time we're having a defense pact with the Britain, and coincidentally, Theresa May's visit coincided with former Prime Minister Thatcher, who was in Nigeria 30 years ago. So you can see that this is quite historic. Anyway, back to the agreements that we had. We had an agreement that was signed between our National Security Advisor and the British Deputy National Security Advisor, which will see the fact that Britain will start training Nigerian troops. Before, they used to train Nigerian troops in silos, but now they're going to be trained as a unit. And when you train them, you deploy them immediately to the theater of operations. That's one pact. And the training is going to cover how to fight against and explosive mines that are being planted by Boko Haram terrorists, because that's been what they do right now. It's more of asymmetric warfare. They go plant their mines and run away. So they're going to help us with equipment that can help us excavate those mines and get into their battleground where they are and get them out. That's on one part. Another part again is that the British government is going to help us establish the Cabinet Office Briefing Room, which is a situation, which is a hub, is a mechanism whereby you're going to have the president with the service chiefs or his intelligence chiefs who sit and watch an operation taking place firsthand, and probably as commander-in-chief give them direction on how he thinks it should go and whatnot, which is a very, very good one. And also too, they're also going to help us with security equipment for the Nigerian Special Forces that fight in theater of operations. And also too, they're going to also help us with propaganda. Now they've understood that the Boko Haram are using propaganda to recruit people in. And now they're going to help us with messages that we can use to now stop that. Counter such kind of activities from Boko Haram elements, and allow the Nigerian troops get in and win the support of the people from the state, because it's a two-way thing. You can't just come there. You need the cooperation of people in society, in Borno, in Yobe, and Adamawa. So there's going to be a message, communication strategy that will help them get intelligence, and also have people from those parts be on the side of Nigerian troops. So this actually help us decimate and degrade Boko Haram for the last time finally.
All right. We've seen a decrease in farmers-herders clashes in the country, and that has been, the present administration has been committed to that. How is this MOU going to further decrease these clashes that we're seeing, and is it going to be just an initiative that's focused on the northeast, or is there plans to challenge or work towards eradicating these farmers-herders clashes that we're seeing in other parts of the country?
Yeah, I mean, we have to applaud the current administration for trying to put an end to this crisis. Now it's not been ended, but it's been reduced, and it's because of the fact that we've been having a proper synergy between our security service, the armed forces. Now you have the Air Force that has a quick, rapid response team. They run their ISR. They go and see what's happening at the hotbed there. They send this intelligence to the ground troops who now go in there, and it's all training actually. And the British they have this, they have the entire expertise here. So they're coming with this wealth of experience to come and train our troops. We have special forces. We have people that fly the Alpha jets. We have those that actually ground troops. We have those that actually the undercover agents. So all this is the tripod, and it's going to be done holistically. And with this experience, we can be able to actually see how we can garner this experience and actually fight and counter this crisis we're having from the northeast to north central. And also, within the last 2-3 years, Britain has trained over 30 Nigerian troops across all the services, and more is going to continue. And the good part of this MOU is the fact that they are going to train them right now as a unit. So they train you, you're hot, you're ready, you're experienced, and you're deployed. So that expertise will be used in your theater of operations. If you're actually going for an operation whirlwind in the northwest, use it there. If for the theater operations in the northeast, you use it there. So it's a win-win thing for both parts, both services of the armed forces. I think it's going to be very strategic for us, actually.
All right, Mr. Salisu, the other priority area was on the economy, and the two nations have signed an MOU on Economic Development Forum. Again, what are we hoping to see with regards to dividends for the Nigerian masses on this agreement?
Definitely, Nigerians are bound to benefit from the economic agreement signed between the two countries. And you can see that the Prime Minister went to Lagos and met with the business community. And in the discussion, she, equally with the President, she offered opportunity to train a lot of Nigerian youth in various skills so that they can become useful to themselves and in managing some of the factories that are running in the country, and those that will come up in the future. And I believe that that will contribute in enhancing the capacity of individual participants in those programs to generate income for themselves, to create wealth for the country, and become useful citizens that are very, very active in the economic sector. And the agreement or the understanding between the captain of industry in this country and their counterparts from Britain will be translated into more economic activities at that level. And both countries will benefit from it. And I can assure you that by the time those schemes take off, the number of Nigerians crossing towards Europe through the Sahara Desert, across the Mediterranean into Libya and Greece will reduce. And that will contribute in ending the crisis for migrants in Europe. Although even today it is down because the migrants are moving into other countries. For instance, the total new waves of migrants in Europe from African countries and Asia are just 1.6 million.
Okay.
Whereas in Nigeria alone, there are over 6.21 internally displaced persons. Although that figure has reduced by 1.7 million because people have moved back to their areas of abode in Adamawa and Borno states and Yobe, and more are moving actually, and farming activities are returning. So you can see that the outcry by Europe is because of the number of deaths recorded. So far this year, 16,000 intending migrants have died in the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea.
16,000.
16,000 so far this year.
Wow.
So it is a large figure which no continent or country with conscience, with a feeling of humanity, would like to see happening.
All right, just give us an idea of what exactly the benefits of Nigerians actually going abroad to these European countries.
Well, they are divided into two. That is the Nigerians going there. Those who go there to do very important jobs because they have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have the training.
Okay.
People in medicine or medical services, doctors, nurses, surgeons, they are quite there. Engineers to man industries and factories. People who are innovative in ICT. You know, Nigeria has trained quite a number of them. So nobody is saying don't come for those categories. But the category they are fighting against are those who will go just there to be maybe hangers on the economy, maybe a burden to the social welfare system there, to their health services there, to even...
But if they're not a citizen, how can they qualify for social welfare?
Their housing, they can.
They can,
because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we have to admit the truth. A lot of forgeries happen. Theft of identities and like crimes, so that they can impute themselves into the benefit system. So if those countries say we don't want you, I will not blame them. And for some ladies who will go and do the red light district business, I think that one too is bad. And those who will be taken, small girls, that will be treated as slaves, what they call modern slavery. I think is dehumanizing for Africans, for Nigerians. I don't want to see any Nigerian in that kind of situation. Therefore, if those governments don't come and engage in such things, I will be happy, because it means they are protecting the dignity of my brothers and sisters. But if they encourage it, for them only to be debased, for them to be disgraced, dehumanized, I think people will start crying racism because they are blacks or because they are Africans. But let the rules apply and let them stay at home. Let the British and others bring support for their training, for their engagement, for their deployment as useful citizens here. Because in Nigeria, believe me, there are fantastic opportunities. If you look very carefully, you may think they are small, but well, everything has a beginning. You start small and you grow over time. So let them be patient and stay at home and contribute their quota. Even if they are not getting paid jobs from the government or from the industry, they can create their own. For
engage in something and learn maybe a trade or something like that.
Yes,
and,
even now,
develop a skill.
Somebody can become a farmer. Somebody can tap into the various value chains or various commodities and make money. For instance, even if I'm not a farmer, I can go to a farm and buy a bag of maize. I can become an apprentice butcher. I learn how to slaughter a cow, separate the different parts of the meat, which have different prices and value and taste, sell them. Even the skin, there are tanneries coming up, or existing ones. There are opportunities. If you look around, definitely in this country,
plenty of opportunities.
There will be no way you can say there's nothing for me to do, except if you think you are too big for starting small and ending up
everybody has to start somewhere, and this is what President Buhari was emphasizing when the international leaders came to visit, and they also said that the president's administration will not condone any any illegal acts of migration into other countries, because obviously of the consequences that you have alluded to. Mr. Ayo Akonji, let's talk on this issue of...
But before you,
okay.
On what you have just said regarding the view of Mr. President,
yes,
he has an antecedent. He has the record when as military head of state. He said all those young people who are idle in the cities, go back home as part of a war against indiscipline, engage in agriculture. And I can vividly remember that I reported it actually in the Daily Times where I worked before. In 1984, the harvest was so bumper that storage facilities were overstretched across the country. And the prices of foodstuff crashed, and everybody was happy. And then the youth never returned. And even when he left office, that legacy continued until around the early 90s. People were deep in agriculture before we relapsed into being lazy, into being shoe shiners, into coming to the city to be idle, sitting under trees. When you see somebody passing about in his car or eating very good meal, you start envying him. And from there you graduate into crime, which is not good. And you can see that since he's Khan, he made agriculture one of the fundamental pillars of propping the Nigerian economy. And it is, I think it is paying handsomely, because you can see that people who return to agriculture, who left cities to go back and work the land, we are attaining gradually, we are moving towards self-sufficiency, rice production. And that is very, very important. And currently there's glut in the wheat produced locally. The uptakers cannot absorb it. We have a lot of maize. That's why you see for months people roasting, eating it. And we have a lot of millet. It has been harvested. Nigeria remains the largest producer of cassava because Nigerians have gone back to make sure that they sustain the level will attain in the production of stable foods. You know, all the cry Nigerians are making is about rice. Nobody is complaining about scarcity of yams. You may talk about the cost because of many factors of transportation, the cost of fertilizer and harvest, which now is being assisted. The government is assisting the farmers with cheaper fertilizer. The cost of diesel, that one, you know, it has been deregulated before this administration came about.
Yes.
Therefore, people are returning to the basics, and it is paying off, and it is helping the country. And I think if you see it within this context, even a good father, talk less of the father of all the nation, it's right to tell his son, please, you, go and be productive, be useful to yourself.
All right. Yeah, well, the agriculture is certainly one of the MOUs that was signed between the President Muhammadu Buhari and the German Chancellor. We'll touch on that a little later. But coming to you, Mr. Akonji, I have a quote from the UK Minister of State for Immigration. We're talking about recovery of assets. Okay. He said that the UK's ability to recover and return stolen assets should send a clear message to all who may seek to harbour such assets that there is no safe haven in the United Kingdom. This is a clear, his position is clear on the UK's determination to assist Nigeria in recovering stolen assets. Just give us the significance of this statement and what it means for Nigeria.
I mean, that's a very powerful signal that's been given to Nigeria and Nigerians who indulge in corrupt practices. Yeah. And the start is to usher in the Prime Minister's visit. The British High Commissioner had a press conference where he spoke about the fact that Britain has restituted £70 million to Nigeria. And this was taken from a prize, this was taken from an investigation that's still ongoing in Italy. Now, this is just one tranche of payment. Now, we don't know who the person is actually and what is the actual total sum. But the investigation is still ongoing at Italy, and over time we'll get to know how much that is. But this tells you that, and this also brings in the fact that the three cardinal tripod of this government administration when they came into campaign was corruption, economy, and security. So corruption, President has said if Nigeria doesn't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. One person took £70 million. Anyway, it was so good to hear the British minister say this, and they tell you that we're actually keen to this already. That's why we have the TSC already, which is actually helping us put the entire government revenue in one hub, and you can trace it. The president has just signed in the Executive Order 6, and is going to also help expedite action in the fight against corruption. And also, in 2016, the president was in London for the Anti-Corruption Summit, whereby we signed up to the fact that everybody that has any asset in Britain will be known. The British government said they want to have an open registry. So for all the people in the business of houses, real estate, petroleum, wherever it is, wherever you have, let's know who you are, let's know who your address is. So if anything comes up, we can easily trace that. Already Nigeria and Britain has a mutual legal understanding, so that can actually fast track the fight against corruption. But this is a very good signal, and we are really happy to see this happen. And we know that this will continue. Also, Nigeria is a member of the Open Government Partnership, the OGP, which is a very formidable international organization that is open to transparency in the extractive industry, which is a very important part. This is most of the money that was taken away from Nigeria was actually from that industry. So if you can actually begin to put this out there in the books for the public to get to see, I can tell you that we'll be able to see a reduction in that. And also, they spoke about the fact that there needs to be a proper judicial process in this. And that's why the president keeps saying that he needs the judiciary to key into his fight against corruption. He has told the CGN, he's reiterated this when he went for the MBA conference, and made that really very clear. And we all have to be partners in this fight. We all have to be partners in the struggle. The struggle is for Nigeria's commonwealth. That is a wealth to be used for the entire country. It's not about where you come from. It's from Nigeria, for security, for economy, for agriculture, for health, for education. All the sectors need this funding. If one person is taking £70 million, which translates about 25 billion naira, that can do a lot. It's a humongous sum of country. So we need to begin to understand that this president is resetting the country. He's enthroning a new order, an order of property. A fact that you're coming here to serve, you're serving for a reason. Not that you're the best person, you come here, play your part, build a structure, build a formidable country for Nigerians to actually come in and enjoy that, and move that for the next generation.
And
so
build a solid foundation. And the British Prime Minister did say that despite the slowness of the judicial process, it is a process that should be followed to, make this initiative achieve what it is set out to achieve.
Thoroughly.
Yes. Yeah. And she also urged President Muhammadu Buhari, he's obviously the current ECOWAS chairman, that he should continue to put this issue of human trafficking, like Mr. Salisu was talking about. He should continue to put it on the front burner. Obviously, this is a critical issue. Just give us your own thoughts on this.
I mean, I think the Nigerian Immigration Service brought out a list and said about 10,000 Nigerians died last year.
10,000.
On the Mediterranean Sea, moving from Libya to Europe and all that. And then when she came in around, she actually, it brought up about 40.1 million pounds in Lagos to see how they can actually reintegrate people who are actually beneficiaries or those that were trying to move around the country, to brought them back. And also try and see how they can make Nigeria habitable for them. Because the reason why they're living here is because they are waiting for greener pasture. And you're going to a UK who was living in the EU, who has their own economic challenges right now. So they're saying, okay, fine. It's like what happened during when Muammar Gaddafi was the president of Libya. They were paying him money not to allow people to leave for Europe. So now they're saying, okay, fine, we're coming, and then Nigeria as a country is an economic hub. Their love is like a gold mine. It's a virgin land. The opportunities here that they are also eyeing. So they're actually coming with own funds to actually take care of those already who were trying to leave the country but were back here to start something up with that, and also encourage others to stay and say this is the best place you should be. And also, and the president made that really very clear. He said, see, stay back in the country like he just talked about here. Agriculture is there. We've restituted about 12 blending plants. That's a lot of progress. We used to import fertilizer before as value chain, but right now we're producing right now, we're even exporting right now. So the opportunities are here. We have arable land. Why don't you stay back here and fix your country? As I was saying, Nigeria, Dubai and Saudi Arabia has a need of 5,000 goods from Nigeria in a week. So if you have people that can actually farm just this produce, there's a market readily waiting for you. So why do you have to go to Europe to go and do what there? Europe is saturated. We are just about to start. So let's all stay back here. Let's key into what the president is saying. Let's stay back here. Let's build our country. And let's even attract people to come here and help us build the country furthermore.
Everything is certainly at home, and there's not always it's not always a bed of roses to go to another country.
Another country, yeah.
Mr. Salisu, you already touched on the agricultural sector. Another MOU that was signed between Nigeria and Germany was that on commerce. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, the history of trading between Germany and Nigeria is deep. And I can recall that they established the Anambra Motor Manufacturing Company, where Mercedes trucks and buses were assembled, and some parts actually fabricated in this country. They also had the Volkswagen plant in Lagos, which was thriving before factors came and diluted the market for it, and it collapsed actually after being sold because it is not active. So you can see that in that sector, transportation sector, we had a strong relationship with Germany. And in the chemical and allied factors too, Germany was one of the countries that was supplying agrochemicals for preserving, for pest control, preserving perishable commodities, and ensuring that they are exported in good condition to Nigeria. I don't want to mention their companies who are very active. They are also in the construction industry, and they are helping this country. That started in the 1960s when Nigeria became independent. Actually, between 1964 and shortly after the Civil War, when the country was engaged in reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reintegration of Nigerians into one whole unit, they came in through an aid to do one project from where Nigeria realized these are very good partners for us. And I can clearly remember that in 1968, the general hospital built in Dambata was built with German aid, and it is still there, although it has been transformed and expanded into a specialist hospital through the MDGs, which was another form of aid from the West. So you can see that the relationship is deep, and I'm sure that there have been many other projects and programs, both economic, social, and integrative, in terms of all sectors. Agriculture has just been one of them. Therefore, I can say that the Germans have always been friends of Nigeria, despite the spat when Nigeria took away a portion of a German territory during a referendum led by the northern regional government of Sardauna. You remember, the Sardauna province was brought into Nigeria from Cameroon. Apart from that, the relationship has been smoothed in every aspect. So I believe that her visit is just to consolidate, deepen it, widen it, and ensure that both countries benefit more. And I'm sure that by the time the agreements mature, the outcome will say, let us do more. We can tell the Germans that, come and do more. Let us explore other areas. And you remember that Germany is now becoming the agreement that tied their hands in terms of industrial military production. It's been loosened after the Second World War. So I can see a Germany that will help Nigeria in developing the Nigeria military industrial complex the president mentioned during his inauguration in 2015. Because they have the technology, they have the capacity, and even the Alpha Jet is a German product. So you can see that already we are benefiting from their expertise in various fields.
Okay, Mr. Akanji, obviously these MOUs, they surely will have a positive impact on SMEs in Nigeria as well. What do you think?
Yeah, they will. They will. It's very important to understand that the SME is actually the heartbeat of the economy. And where do we have what you call the social medium? We have the SMEs clinic across the country as clusters. So the coming of Angela Merkel, German Chancellor, to actually harp on this tells you that they've seen the desirable need to actually empower them more. They empower them more, it trickles down, and it takes a lot of little pressure from the economy, but makes the economy grow better because the small SMEs contribute huge amounts of resources to percentage our GDP. And they had an MOU on that part, so they can actually get funding for them and probably training and expertise on that, as on one note. They also spoke about, and one very important part looking into again was also see how they can actually work on recharging the Lake Chad Basin, which is very important. And then Lake Chad Basin has been like the hotbed or the hub that's causing various branches of crisis in the country, from farmer headers crisis to Boko Haram's terrorist crisis. And the president has made that a cardinal objective of his, that anytime he meets any world leader, he always talks about this. And mind you, in 2015, when he was inaugurated, he was invited to the G7 that was hosted by Angela Merkel. And he went there with the shopping list. And from then till now, he has made that cardinal fact that we have to recharge the Lake Chad Basin. And the cost is, I think, give or take about $50 billion. And China is actually trying to see how they can actually bring in a study to see how they can rechannel water from the Congo Basin back into it. And Germany organized a summit in May with our neighbors at the basin, and they're having the Oslo summit sometime September again. So they've been a partner with Nigeria to see how this basin can be recharged. And if that's been done, livelihood will be back to millions of people around that part. And the crisis we're seeing will actually go because crisis hinging from climate change, which is shrinking the basin, and then the farmers have to move around with their cattle. So this will be a long-lasting solution to our problem. Another very important MOU that I was saying was also on the automobile industry. We know we have our National Automation Council trying to see how we can actually make Nigeria a hub of vehicle activities.
Nigeria is aiming to becoming one of the world leaders in automobile manufacturing.
And we have a very fantastic guy as the MD of the Jelani Aliu, who's doing really very well there. And then I expect to see that we signed an MOU with Volkswagen that will make Nigeria a hub in West Africa for production of Volkswagen produce. Also, we have iron ore already in Abuja that will soon come up. So if we expect to see that if that's done properly, they can begin to take their resources they need from Nigeria. They have their plant, they manufacture the products here. So it means the cars will be cheaper, more employment for our people. More, we have our forex actually appreciate because we don't have to start spending so much money to import these vehicles here. I'll also be exporting vehicles outside the country. So I think it's a win-win for all. And for agriculture too, they talked about GIZ is here doing so much well here, and spoke about how to see how they can get seedlings for us, for our farmers, equipment, and transfer of technology, because Germany is a very strong leader in agriculture. So all this actually comes together to actually help equip our people, make them more prosperous, more industrial, for the common good of Nigeria, West Africa, the continent, and the world at large.
All right, Mr. Salisu, just briefly, obviously, Mr. President is in Beijing currently at the Forum on China-African Cooperation, FOCAC. Just tell us what you're hoping to see at the end of these interactions with
Although
China.
it is not proper to anticipate the outcome of the meeting, but I can say that if Nigeria will win the heart of the Chinese to come and invest and conclude the railway projects that Nigeria wants to implement, I think that will be of great help to this country. Another area in which I want to see the Chinese moving very strongly towards Nigeria is in terms of transferring some of the factories to this country to manufacture goods here, so that we don't have to import from China. And Nigeria then will be exporting to other African and West African countries, because already more than 60% of trade and goods and services in West Africa is based in Nigeria. Therefore, it is the natural place for the Chinese industrialists to come and establish in partnership with Nigerians, and in areas that Nigeria has comparative advantages.
I'd like to appreciate you, Mr. Salisu Inadambata, retired Director of Information and Ministry of Finance, and Mr. Ayo Akonji, is Security and Foreign Affairs Analyst. I appreciate you both for joining us on Insights and for giving us your views. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, and up next will be Cecile with the Media Review segment.
The visit of 3 European leaders since July till August has sparked a lot of discussion in different quarters, some misinformed and others actually on track. How much has the media helped to channel the discourse in this area so that we'll be on the right track? Well, to help us do justice to this, discuss it, I have with me a journalist with over 25 years of experience. I'm talking about Chukwudi Enekwechi. He's here to help us talk about this. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with FOCAC. FOCAC is ongoing in China now, and not many people know that FOCAC simply means the Forum on Africa-China Cooperation, and the president is there leading a delegation of 25 to discuss business and bilateral trade and to strengthening existing ties with China. Now let's talk about what are some of the expectations we expect from FOCAC, because the media don't seem to be reporting so much of that. From my understanding, I only hear us discussing the president is met with this. Do you think the media is reporting enough on the China-African relations?
Thank you very much. First of all, you have to realize that FOCAC is a triennial meeting of Chinese leaders and African countries. About 53 African countries are participating. Already China has pledged $60 billion for African countries at this particular FOCAC in terms of loans and aids that they will disburse to Africa. And the same thing happened in South Africa in 2015 when FOCAC also held in that country. So I think the media is actually doing some developmental journalism, is embarking on developmental journalism. The media is reporting this. I read what I've just told you in the media. So I see the media focusing on areas of development as it relates to Africa and China.
In FOCAC 2015 in South Africa, as well as the FOCAC happening now, Nigeria's interest is in infrastructure development. Over the years, the Chinese presence have been in Nigeria. Do you think they have been adequately in the news so that Nigerians will be kept up to speed with the structural development of the Chinese in Nigeria?
you must agree with me that there's a renewed commitment of China towards Africa, and Nigeria in particular. China is beginning to make inroad into Africa, and then with a special emphasis on Nigeria. China is bringing loans to develop infrastructure, especially in the areas of railway and road infrastructure. And the media is also a development institution. The media, there's what is called communication for national development. I believe the media is also interested in seeing that development happens here. And if China is already, as China is already doing, is bringing loans and loans that you have very low interest on them. If China is giving that to Africa and Nigeria in particular, I think the media is expected to key into these areas. And I believe that the media is already doing that.
Would you also agree with some people who said in some quarters that not so much is actually being done, especially with the fact that, for instance, in Ogun State, there is a free trade zone, the China-Guangdong Free Trade Zone, where the Chinese manufacturing firms are there employing Nigerians and all that stuff. Not many people get to know about these things. Don't you think there are some areas where we still need to know how much so that we can actually monitor, be on top of things in terms of the Chinese interest in Nigeria?
Well, I agree with you in this aspect that there's a yawning gap that needs to be filled in terms of media coverage in this area between China and Nigeria. I also believe that the media needs to up its game in terms of reporting what the federal government is doing in various areas, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of power, in terms of diversification program. I think there's a need for to close this. There's a need to close these gaps, and I enjoin the media to do the needful.
Okay, let's move on to talking about Theresa May and Angela Merkel, who've actually visited Nigeria just in the last week in August, just before the president made his way to China. Some of the fallout of their discussion, I know they had discussions and signed an MOU on trade, signed an MOU on security, military and security. Do you think the people have been educated enough to understand the MOUs being signed by the government with these two countries?
The media reported as they saw them, and I've also seen a lot of analysis in the media about some of these visits. For instance, when you talk about migration, when you talk about the aid we are getting from the UK in terms of security, when you talk of the commitment of Germany in terms of removing most of our people from illegal migration. So I can see a lot of analysis in the media about this. But like I said earlier, there is need to fill the small gap that is still there in terms of media coverage.
On Emmanuel Macron's visit, I know what the media played much more on was the tourism part, his visits to the New African Shrine in Lagos. Can you give us a quick refresher on some other areas that we need to know, because we need to actually set platforms like this to channel discussions in right areas?
Well, I am also aware that the media was able to set agenda in respect of what France can do for Nigeria in terms of curtailing insecurity. I'm also aware that the media played a part in trying to draw the attention of the Western world, especially France, to the need to protect Africans from illegally migrating to their countries. I think that the media actually tried in that regard during the President Macron's visit.
But sometimes we see the media report so much, it's everywhere in traditional media, online media, about the fallout of these things. A week, 2 weeks after, and that's it. No specials, no exclusives on this. Why is that so?
Well, you know that media thrives on the spur of the moment. Once the news is developing, the media follows it. And then after that, there will be other intervening issues that will take away the attention of the media from what they already reported. So as time goes on, if there is need to revisit such issues, of course they do revisit. I just read in the Guardian editorial today about the Anambra State, 5 girls from Anambra State who went to America and won laurels on behalf of Nigeria. Today, The Guardian ran a full-page editorial on it. So it shows that the attention of the media is also concentrated on developmental issues. And this is commendable.
And it also shows that sometimes we don't break very important news at the spur of the moment.
No, I have never seen such.
Like this story you just talked about. It's been about a month now, 3 weeks a month now, and many wondered why is it that if you watch on social media, WhatsApp platform for instance, we hear this story trending, but on traditional media, maybe a mention or two, and that's it. Maybe we focus a little more on the politics of the moment.
Of course, like it's natural for the media to focus on issues of the moment, but like I said, where I actually see that the media needs to do more is in terms of reporting the achievements of the President Muhammad Buhari. Under this administration, a lot is happening. A lot is happening in terms of infrastructure across the country. Indeed, the revolution is happening in this country presently under the President Muhammad Buhari.
Let's hear so much about it.
Yes, because there is need for the media to focus attention in these areas. Infrastructure in the railways, infrastructure in terms of roads. Then look at power. In my own, where I live, we have not witnessed power outage in the past 2 weeks. And this is commendable. It's unprecedented. And going forward, we don't expect to have power outages. And then you talk about anti-corruption fight. The media needs to dig more to see that this government means well, that this government is laying the proper foundation for our takeoff, economically and politically. Nigeria is actually witnessing a revolution under the President Muhammad Buhari, and the single most important reason is because his activities are bereft of corruption. His activities as a president are bereft of corruption.
What about infrastructure development in agriculture?
Of course, you just reminded me about agriculture. This is an area that is also witnessing some revolution. Look at the diversification program. Our non-oil exports have increased exponentially, in the past 3 years. Now, we used to have a mono economy. In other words, we are just depending on oil, which also has a lot of market forces controlling it that is not within our own control. But now you have people exporting some other products, agricultural products, and so on and so forth. And this is the way to actually diversify the economy and make it more vibrant. In terms of the infrastructure is doing, this infrastructure, when they are well done, when they are completed, they will generate more jobs for Nigerians. They will create enabling environments for people to move their goods from one point to the other. This is the reason why infrastructure is necessary. Let us come to the pedestrian level. I used to travel by rail in the past. I used to travel from the east to the north by rail. But presently, you can't do that. So when you revitalize all of these sectors, you discover that along the rail corridor, there will be a lot of businesses going on, thereby creating employment. So I think we need to give him a chance.
Okay, fine. It's good to know that there's so much being done infrastructure-wise. In as much as we want many of these foreign investors to come into the country, invest in the country, employ our young people, there's also the cry that sometimes they don't get fair treatment. Most of the workers working in this foreign firm, they don't get fair treatment. What do you think should be done, if anything is being done?
I think that the labor laws should be strengthened in a way to protect the locals, to protect our people who are working in foreign, in companies that are from outside. We need to enforce the laws that are there, and if the laws are not strong enough, perhaps we need to strengthen them in order to ensure that there are no sharp practices, that people are not shortchanged, that people are not working under inhuman conditions in these factories across the country.
Let's talk quickly on a 70 million British pounds. The British Theresa May promised to help improve jobs and send children back to school. Can you educate us a little on it? I don't think the public knows so much about that.
Well, I understand that 70 million pounds was recovered from one individual. in the UK. That's a Nigerian. But we are careful not to mention the name. And a larger chunk of this money is also still in Italy. It's just the aspect that is in the UK, which is $17 million, is being repatriated to Nigeria. Now, you can imagine one individual having cutted away this amount. Why will it not impact negatively on the rest of us? So I think the coming of President Muhammad Buhari has opened our eyes to see that a lot of people were actually taking advantage of all of us. People who were in positions of authority were actually stealing money for their own benefit. And this amount of money, if you translate it to Naira, is about 27 billion Naira. I don't think the individual needs it. And so it's a welcome development that the UK is willing to partner with Nigeria to return most of the stolen funds to Nigeria. And these stolen funds will be deployed. They will be channeled towards infrastructure. They will be channeled towards the education of our children. They will be channeled towards the alleviation of poverty in the country.
Thank you very much, Chukwudi Enekwechi, for taking time to throw light on these and many other issues. We've been quite educated, and we hope you come around and we'll invite you again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, Nigeria is strengthening her ties with many countries around the world. Presently, China, Britain, Germany, France, and many others are in the works. We pray that many others will come on board so that Nigerian infrastructure will be developed for the good of all. So, of course, it will be a win-win situation for both parties involved. This is the Media Review segment. In a short while, I'll be back on with Dennis for the concluding part of Insights.
Well, Cecile, we've just discussed critical issues concerning Nigeria and the relationship of Nigeria with various international communities. Just give us your final take.
Well, just good to know that, in a nutshell, it's going to be a win-win situation for both countries. Of course, Nigeria is one of the latest bride of the world right now. All attention is focused on this in this area. I hope we'll capitalize on it and make the best of it.
We certainly hope so. And it's, like you said earlier, it shall be a win-win situation for Nigeria and, of course, the other countries. It is on that note we've come to the end of this edition of Insights, and my name is Dennis Adigunle. On behalf of all of us here, thank you for watching.